Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And while I was in Japan, I was getting a lot of questions on when I learned Japanese, how I learned Japanese, how long it took me to learn Japanese. And so I thought I'd throw together a little video on how I learned Japanese. So let's get right into it. Starting things off, I wanted to talk about textbooks first and how textbooks played a really important part in my life while learning Japanese. And first and foremost, the #1 textbook that I kept going back to was definitely my Japanese dictionary. Now this one is from Oxford. It is the Pocket Kenkyusha Japanese Dictionary. And to be honest, I don't know why it's called a pocket dictionary. Like, this doesn't fit in my pocket. I don't think it'll fit in your pocket, but you know, maybe it'll fit in someone's pocket. But what I really liked about this dictionary in particular, I mean, it is thick. It'll have a lot of, you know, vocab to work with, and you'll have your typical Japanese to English, English to Japanese. It has appendixes, and before websites and apps that had dictionaries implemented into them, this was definitely something that I went to often. Not so much now because, you know, the internet is amazing, but I remember really going back to this bad boy when, you know, there weren't a lot of resources around. So definitely recommend a Japanese dictionary to start your Japanese journey. The book I wanted to talk about was a verb conjugation book. I have this one, the Complete Japanese Verb Guide, and I actually picked this up a really long time ago when we had Book Off here in Vancouver. I got this for probably $4. It was such a steal. And this has over 600 verbs to work with. What I really like about this book in particular is that let's pick a verb and let's work through this together. So you'll have what's a good verb? What's a good verb to work with? Okay, so iku. So first of all, iku means to go, and it is classified under a group 1 verb. It'll have the meaning. It'll have what it says. It's an intransitive verb. You'll have your plain form in present, affirmative, negative, past, affirmative, negative. Then you'll have your must form, present and past. You'll have your imperative form, your te form, conditional plain, conditional formal, presumptive plain, presumptive formal, volitional. You'll have your potential, your passive, your causative passive, your honorific, and your humble. And it has examples that you can work with. This was honestly such a lifesaver when it came to conjugating, because I really personally had a tough time conjugating verbs in Japanese, and this made it a whole lot easier. I don't know where else you can find this. I just got this on a whim, but if you come across any conjugation verb books, I highly recommend them because it is so important for verbs in grammar, and this will save your life like it did mine. So yeah. Now on to 2 really popular textbooks that you might have already heard of. It is the GENKI series, GENKI 1 and GENKI 2. Now I have used both of these textbooks while studying Japanese in my Japanese schools, and I will talk to you more about those schools in the next segment. And yeah, just starting with GENKI 1, what GENKI 1 is, it is your #1 of your #1 to starting Japanese. It'll have your hiragana, katakana, it'll have your basic kanji. Everything is written in romanji for the first couple chapters, maybe the first and the second. And that really helped me when I really did not know, you know, Japanese, you have to start somewhere. And you'll have your vocab, you'll have basic grammar, you'll have, you know, location, vocab, and just, you know, everything to learn basic Japanese with GENKI 1. And GENKI 2, obviously, it continues on with the story. There is a storyline between GENKI 1 and GENKI 2, which I found really enjoyable. GENKI 2 has more advanced, well, compared to GENKI 1, more advanced grammar to learn from. Definitely more advanced kanji, like you have to keep up with your kanji in GENKI. And I just really liked how GENKI was easy to follow along. It was never really difficult to understand. It was straightforward, and it is very classroom friendly, and that's what I really liked about the GENKI series. I wish there was a GENKI 3, but you know, there's other textbooks that are out there. But yeah, highly recommend the GENKI series if you're just starting out learning Japanese like me. me. And lastly, the textbook I wanted to talk about is about kanji. Now, if you don't know me, my kanji sucks. Honestly, it sucks. But with this kanji workbook, it is also by GENKI. This is the GENKI Plus Kanji Look and Learn workbook. It has around 512 kanji with illustrations and, you know, stuff to help you learn kanji. Honestly, with kanji, I feel like the only way to learn kanji is to practice, you know, drill the stroke order into your mind, and it really helps with like the hints and stuff, like the sun looks like a sun when you write it, and like person looks like a person when you write it. And yeah, I remember doing all of these exercises and having my hand cramp, but I feel like the pain is there to remind you how hard you worked and, like, you know, how much you will remember. And yeah, I definitely recommend this kanji workbook if you do not, you know, if kanji is not so much a strong point just like mine. So yeah. Next segment I wanted to talk to you guys about was Japanese schools. Now, living in Vancouver, which is a very multicultural city here in Canada, I was honestly so lucky that there is a large Japanese community here, and just in every, well, not every city, but, you know, the really big popular cities would have at least one Japanese school. And honestly, when I was in high school and I wanted to learn Japanese, there was no Japanese classes at my high school, and what I basically had to do was I had to do my research and find Japanese schools in the area and just go to them to learn Japanese. And I went to 2 Japanese schools during my high school years. I went to one in Richmond for 2 years, and I went to one in Surrey for 1 year. And after I graduated high school, I just started taking Japanese at my university. But to talk about the Japanese schools here in the greater Vancouver area, all you really need to do is just Google Japanese school in your city. I believe there's one in Surrey, a couple in Burnaby, maybe 2 to 3 in Burnaby, 2 to 3 in Richmond, and definitely more than 5 in Vancouver, which is super lucky for us. I know that not many people, depending on where you live, don't really have that opportunity to learn Japanese or have Japanese schools. But yeah, basically going into my Japanese school experience, I used a different Japanese textbook compared to all the textbooks that I have talked about in my previous segment about textbooks. I used Japanese for Young People. Now, I don't have that textbook because when I paid for my tuition, they just let me borrow that textbook, and then once I was finished with the classes, I had to give it back, obviously. But compared to Japanese for Busy People or Japanese for Young People, one of those two, I'll link it down below. Comparing that to GENKI, I personally like GENKI more. It was much more straightforward, easier to follow along. I don't really remember much about Japanese for Young or Busy People because I spent only maybe three classes with that textbook, and I spent maybe 4 or more classes with GENKI because I used GENKI in my Surrey school, in my Surrey Japanese school, and I used GENKI in my university Japanese learning courses. Plus, I honestly found that the Japanese textbook with my Richmond school, we didn't really use much of the textbook. It was a lot of like worksheets and stuff from our professor, but compared to like my Surrey school and like my university, it was really textbook based, and I really enjoyed them. I highly recommend Japanese courses if you don't have them in your high school already, but it was cheaper to do Japanese school outside of my school rather than university. I mean, university, I do get them for credit, but during high school, I did not get them for credit because I took it outside of high school, and it didn't really count towards my university credit either. So it's just kind of whatever I learned before entering university, I just kind of, you know, had to transfer my knowledge that way. So yeah. Next segment I want to talk to you guys about is learning Japanese through the media. Now, I mean media as in like pop culture as well. So like, you know, anime and music, TV shows, dramas, and movies, stuff like that. And I want to say that I think my favorite way of learning Japanese was probably through music. I basically would get a song that I really liked. I would print out the lyrics, like the kanji lyrics. I would circle the lyrics, or I would circle the kanji that I didn't know and then find the meaning through it, write the hiragana and then find the meaning to it. And then that would kind of, you know, slowly piece together what the song meant. And then I'd be like, okay, like now I know what the song means and I'm not just, you know, singing random gibberish. So that was definitely one of my favorite methods of learning Japanese. When it came to listening and like speaking with my intonation and pronunciation, definitely hands down was through dramas and through movies. I am a little bit of a nerd, so I have watched a lot of dramas and a lot of Japanese movies that you cannot imagine. I did a lot of my learning through watching, and it helped me a lot with understanding Japanese culture as well. So not just, you know, learning the pronunciation of a word, but then you were like aware of like the cultural, like, you know, standard, or the like what Japanese people are like, and just how to act in certain cultural situations and stuff like that. So I really owe a lot to Japanese dramas and to Japanese movies, and same with anime, but I wouldn't really take much of, you know, the cultural aspect into anime. It was mainly for, you know, enjoying the storyline and for listening as well. So yeah. And lastly, I want to talk about the apps that really helped me along the way with learning Japanese. I have two holy grail apps that I will always go back to no matter what. And one of them is being Imiwa. Previously it was called Kotoba, I believe. And Imiwa just looks like this. Let me just get it for you guys. So it's this red one right here. So you open that up, and basically Imiwa is a big mishmash of everything Japanese. It is amazing. It is a dictionary. It can help you conjugate. They can help you with kanji. I have like notes on here. I have like starred vocab that I want to, you know, remember. If I don't know the stroke order of something, you can definitely look that up. Like for example, let's find a word. So for instance, I'm going to use the verb modoru to return, and for example, it'll have the romaji at the bottom, it'll have the meaning, it'll have the what kind of verb it is. So it's like a go down verb, it is an intransitive verb, it'll have the English. Sometimes it has different other languages that it'll translate into. So for this specific one, it has it in French, and it has it in German and in Spanish. It'll have examples of the word as well. When you click on the go down verb, it'll actually take you to the conjugation of this verb. So it'll have the present, future, and then it has on the bottom like the meaning of it, and it'll have the past, continuative te form, conditional, provisional, potential, passive, causative, passive, volitional, presumptive, past presumptive, alternative, imperative. It is amazing. And also when it comes to kanji, if you don't know the stroke order, you can click on the kanji decomposition. It tells you what, like in the JLPT, what kind of verb it is. So this is an N2 verb. And then it'll have the on reading, the kun reading, the pinyin, the Korean, and then it'll have on the side like the stroke order. So if you have trouble writing it and like you don't know how to write it, it'll show you how to write it over there. And honestly, like I just love this app. I'm not sure if they have it for Android. They should, honestly. This should be available everywhere, but I have been using this app for years and I cannot highly recommend it even more. I just love this app so much. It saved me a lot while I was in Japan. So thank you so much to Imiwa. Like, yeah. And finally, my second favorite app for learning Japanese is surprisingly Google Translate. And you're probably like, what? Like how, you know, like you shouldn't be using Google Translate, like it doesn't, you know, it doesn't help you really. And it's not so much the dictionary or, you know, the copy paste portion that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the picture like segment that you can do. Basically, when I had trouble with my kanji, I would take a picture of the kanji, and then you can do that with the camera, and then just highlight the word that you don't know, and bam, it'll translate it. It's not 100% accurate, but if you can kind of find like the root of it and then put it towards another like dictionary app, it'll help you. And also, if you can't take a picture of the kanji, there's also the writing segment part that you can do. So if you can write in the stroke order and then the kanji will pop up, then it'll tell you the meaning right away. And this really helped me a lot when it came to reading menus in Japanese when I was there, and like during my work when I would have like the kyushoku menu, and like obviously there's no English on the menu, so I would take pictures of the kanji or I would write out the kanji, and then it would be like, oh okay, like this means it has like butter, and this is the word for like, just it was vocab that I didn't know, so it was really helpful. Like Google Translate was really helpful when it came to that. So yeah, like thanks Google Translate. So guys, that is a wrap of, you know, the Japanese journey and how I learned Japanese. It was a mishmash of a lot of things, from different schools to tens of thousands of textbooks to a lot of apps and a lot of different interesting ways on how to learn Japanese. But all I can really say is if you're really interested in Japanese, you will always find a way. Japanese is so accessible online these days. It is way easier to learn Japanese now than it was back in my day learning Japanese. And yeah, it's just, as long as you really know how to prioritize learning Japanese, you'll be there in no time. That's all I can really tell you guys. So yeah, good luck on your Japanese journey, and talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.